And this is my sister Barb. She's showing off her ice skating skills. And today we're going to make an ice skater doll. And I'm Barb. Whatever she said, Merry Christmas.
In today's video, we're finally making my dream come true and making a figure skating doll. This is sort of a gift from Alex and me to me. I really love this smart doll Haruka, which is discontinued, so we're making our own version and putting her into the cutest winter figure skating outfit because simply we can. We're also answering your questions, so roll the footage. Making ice skates for my dolls was on my to-do list for a very long time now. I love figure skating, which you may know if you've been following us for a while. I decided to employ the Cricut to cut out the leather bits and mark all the necessary lines on the white pleather. I made a similar set from this beige suede-like fabric for the lining. I start by folding over the edge of the tongue to finish the edge nicely. I was smart and marked both the fold line and the line to fold to make everything extra neat. I am of course using my Uhu glue and tweezers for this, and on the rounded areas I sort of pleat and pinch the seam allowance. While I'm pinching away, let's do a question. Who's your favorite K-pop group? For both of us, it is and always will be SHINee. And for me also aespa, but I listen to all of these people too. Explosions. Let's move on to the main pieces. I connect them at the tippy toes and make sure to trim this seam allowance a bit and press it open with glue. For the outer piece, I also stitch there for decoration and strength. I want to hem this piece next, so I'm cutting out the seam allowance in the spaces where it would fold over the eyelets and a bit at the rounded edge to reduce the bulk. Let's take another cue. How do you manage time between doing the PhD and dolls? The answer is barely. Would I like to do this full time? Of course I would, and Alex already does it full time. New tube. New me. I apply the glue to both sides of the fold, wait a bit to dry, and fold over, distributing the fabric as best as I can to get a smooth edge. I clean this desk all the time. For shoes, I use so many tools that I just keep like shoving them, and then it's a mess, so you have to forgive me. I then take out my hole punching tools and add the eyelet holes and make mistakes. That is not true, because you have to do this with lining. I will have to redo this. But that's okay. We learn from our mistakes. Unfortunately, we'll have to make sure that I stick the needle into these same holes next time. But that's a price that I'm willing to pay. Because if you puncture leather, fake leather, that's it. This probably cannot go in the video because Alex is playing copyrighted music very loudly. Because she's in her KDA phase again. We first have to pick up a razor. This is very dangerous and you should take all of the necessary precautions that you can to make sure that this is safe. I'm an experienced professional, so I'm doing it like this. I'm gonna trim as much. These are so sharp, but they get dull very quickly with the leather. So use as many as you need. I have like 1,000 of these because I bought like the big box ones. As soon as it gets dull, it's gone. I'm gonna trim these a tiny bit. Also, my nails are my tools. For the lining, to reduce bulk, I trim off the bottom seam allowance, which is there to last the shoe. I'm going to take out the thread in my machine and I'm gonna just puncture the leather where it's supposed to be sewn so that when I add the lining later and close the back and I'm unable to sew this on the machine because it's so small, I can have pre-made holes for my hand needle and it's a little bit easier to stitch it evenly. But if you don't like that idea and have, for example, this thing, you can run this over your leather. It will not leave a permanent mark because the leather is gonna recover if you don't puncture it. But this can be a great guide for hand sewing around the edges for like bags and stuff like that as well. So these are your two options. I'm choosing to puncture my leather and I'll be right back when I do that. I only did a row of stitching near the edge and the skates sometimes also have a row on the other side of the eyelets, but I did not put any there for mine. I can now close the skates in the back on both outer and the lining. I decided at the last minute to add a strip in the back for decoration. So now I'm just gonna give it a little wrap around. Are we ready for the lining? I think so. I applied a generous amount of glue on both pieces and began matching up these seams and smoothing the fabrics against each other. I purposely left the seam allowance on the lining and I didn't make the holes yet, so if it gets a bit misaligned, it's not a big deal. The white should be going only up to this line. So that's your two guides. Also, this should be going up to this line. So this overlaps this way and this overlaps from this edge. Yeah, like any of you are making this along with me. This step takes some finagling back and forth. 2 hours later. I'll see you after I stitch it. Oh! Now's the time to go through both the layers and the holes I made earlier. While I do my least favorite, hand stitching, let's answer more questions. What is my favorite tool for doll making? Alex hates all of the machines, but I love them all. I think the 3D printer out of them would be the most versatile, as it allows you to create 3D stuff where you can cut vinyl by hand without a Cricut and you can live without a lassier. Although they are very cool. So the point of the stitching is, I'll show you. These are Jimmy Choo's for Smart Doll, and they do it the same way I am doing it, or I am doing the way they do it. They have even thinner suede lining, which I need to source something that thin, and then they cut it right up to that stitching, and it doesn't fray because it's right next to the stitching that's been already made. So when you cut it after stitching it, it looks good. And it's a thin layer, it's not folded under like this is. And you can see that the leather was folded under, because you can see the outline of it here. And that's exactly the same thing that we're doing. So now it's time to cut the lining so that it doesn't peek through from the outside. Mine are obviously not as pristine as, you know, the guys' whose dad is a very famous shoe guy, but I think these are passable and one of the better pairs I made so far in my cobbler career. At this point, I can insert the eyelets and finish lining the tongue we started with, on which I thankfully can use the machine to stitch. Now it's the time to Avengers Assemble! I am adding these super tiny ice skating blades. Ice skating blades, which I have modeled and 3D printed from scratch. I made the plates heart-shaped and left holes in them to actually use screws. I quickly made holes for the screws with a hot thumbtack because I printed the soles in a wood-filled PLA filament. In the meantime, is it possible to meet Alex and I? Yeah, we had people recognize us a couple times in Katowice, which is near to where we live and where we sometimes do photo shoots like we are doing today with this doll. I guess you could also start studying at my uni and have a class with me, but that's a bit elaborate. It will be easier to glue the sole without the blades though, so let's skip that for now. I am adding an insole to the bottom of the last with some sticky tack and adding contact glue on the lasting allowance to the sole. When you're doing your 10th pair of shoes, this is quite easy. I use pliers or tweezers to help stretch the material. I check with the other shoe for symmetry and remove the last to take out the sticky tack before I add the hard sole. I also trim any extra bumps and add some leather in the middle to level it out for the glue. This takes a while, so let's talk about our family. Do we have any other siblings? Nope, only our lost sisters who are our top tier Patreon members. Alex and I actually live together and our studio is a few minutes away from our flat.
And we also think if we had a third sibling, their name could start with a C. You know, ABC.
Now I can put the sole onto the upper and press it hard.
They are so pretty, I love them.
With the last out, I can glue in the tongue and we can get back to the blades. To attach them, I used some eyeglasses screws and the plastic was just able to grab onto those threads. While I try not to screw that up, the next cue. What's it like in Poland? I think it's pretty safe and not too bad. We have some nice things like decent public transportation and easy banking compared to some other countries we've been to. Politics are a bit weird, but there are worse, like authoritarian places. There are 4 distinct weather seasons. I don't know, we could talk about this for hours, so let's get back to the skates. To lace them up, I tried a white lace, but it was too short, so I ended up buying this light brown cord, which I thought would match the wooden sole.
You're so cute, oh my god.
This is a real skate and this is my tiny skate. A big shout out to our sponsor, Skillshare, the go-to platform for online learning. Dive into thousands of classes taught by top creatives covering e-commerce, marketing, social media, freelancing, design, and more. Skillshare is the tool to turn your passion into a paycheck, offering a learn-by-doing approach at your own pace. As we approach the end of the year, my goal, still within this year, is to make leg warmers for my own figure skating sessions. I knew some crochet as I learned it in primary school, but I needed a refresher. I recently completed the Modern Crochet Essential Skills for Getting Started class by Tony Lipsy to refresh my crochet skills, especially the technicalities of different stitches. This class not only aligns with my personal goals, but also highlights the power of Skillshare in building new skills for starting a side hustle. Maybe you too are exploring a new passion, honing a hobby, or looking to start a side business? Unlock your creativity and learn something new with Skillshare. The first 500 people to use our link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare.
As this is Barb's doll, she got to choose the base, so we're going to work on Hikari Sculpt. I sprayed the head with MSC twice and started sketching the basic shapes. I'm inspired by the original Haruka doll, but I also want her to look similar to our girl Aqua, so with fluffy eyelashes and hairy eyebrows. While I'm adding more colors, let's see what other questions you have. How do we get ideas and inspirations? I think mostly by consuming various media like movies, cartoons, music, and art in general. We unfortunately like very different things, so there's also the element of compromise in our dolls. I'm also adding some pastels on her cheeks and lips. And when I have a base made with watercolor pencils, I can move to acrylic and vinyl paints. She's going to have a muted pink and mint color palette, and these colors are difficult to get as paint or watercolor pencils, so there was a lot of mixing custom colors. You want to know if we have unfinished projects. I think only my first smart doll face-up Aqua. She doesn't really have an outfit or a story or one main theme, but I have millions concept sketches for dolls that we never made. I also remember that we started once Sapphire from Steven Universe, but we did Garnet instead. So we have Laguna's head prepared for Sapphire, so with one eye, but never finished it. As I said before, I want her lashes to be both anime style and fluffy, so I'm elongating them and adding soft highlights. For the lower lashes, I'm again trying to imitate Haruka, but in my usual style. Now it's something that I don't see on factory-made dolls, which is a lot of white details. I'm highlighting the brows, adding a few white lashes, and some soft lines on the lips for a very subtle detail. The same with very delicate freckles. I love seeing a bit of texture on their faces, and even if the original Haruka doesn't have freckles, mine is going to have them, because I like them. I'm pretty sure they are not showing on camera, unfortunately, but I see them in reality, and that's what counts. A little bit of Perlix powder in gold, and the face is finished.
I wanted the outfit to have the cutest pleated skirt ever, so I did some tests and landed on this sort of double circle skirt with strategic pin tucking, I guess. Strategic pin tucking. Strategic pin tucking, I guess. If there's someone who knows what this style is called, let me know. At first, I thought I would add a petticoat with a fur trim, so I did a test of that as well. Cutting fur is pretty annoying because if you cut through the fibers, you have different lengths of the fur and a mess to clean up. But I saw this hack to only cut the back mesh with an X-Acto knife, and it kinda worked some of the time, but when I would press too hard, it would mess up the fur again.
This is gonna be a messy video. Prepare for the sneeze fest.
I played around with the fur trim, thinking how to make it seem like it's a continuous piece and make it, I don't know, look good. And it quickly turned out that the petticoat is not a great idea.
So Alex came here and said it looked bad. So I am trying something else. Story of my life. Oh my god. This is a constant battle. This is my latest try, and I think it's my favorite so far. This is with the fur attached first, and then also stitched through. And then these little pleats get tied together to be closer. Nice.
Takie kupiłam świecące i takie.
Ja mów po angielsku, potem muszę to tłumaczyć.
This is beautiful.
Shiny beautiful. This is also beautiful. Brown beautiful. Because the concept has brown. Nice. I bought some string. Also nice. In case string. I bought this. This is both gold and silver. I'm not sure. I got the pink, which is sort of a bit purple. So maybe not a very happy moment. Not very happy moment. And this is also the only pink one I bought. So we have to use the one that I already had instead.
Barb, you went there to buy pink ribbon.
Nie było dobrych, ładnych.
I got cream ruffle. I got this thing. I don't know. Quasi. Also this quasi. Okay. And that's all. Thank you. And I bought thread. Because it's time to sew.
Reimburse
Basia.
me this amount.
Huh? My suggestion is that we pay this amount for buying pizza.
Yes.
Everybody happy?
Yes. Very.
For the real thing, this is my color palette. Let's start with the green skirt. I prepared the pattern and roughly cut out the fabric because I need to prepare some more stuff first, like add interfacing because the cotton is too thin. I also want to add a silver decorative border which I have designed and cut on my Cricut. While I weed it out, let's do it a lightning round. Favorite ice cream flavor? Chocolate.
Every light color sherbet.
Cats or dogs? Dogs. Favorite Polish baked good? For me, it's metrowiec, a meter-long cake.
Our mom's rogaliki with marmalade inside.
Best hot winter beverage? Tea with orange slices, cloves, ginger, and some jam.
Mint tea.
Adding a circular border wastes a lot of vinyl, so to save on materials, I'll split the borders into a few pieces, which means I now have to somewhat accurately piece them back together. This wasn't too bad though, and with everything pressed into place, I could mess it up anyway.
No. No! No, why did it stick?
After that, I cut the pieces out. I made sure to mark all of the pin tucks on the underside and have an existential crisis about ballpoint pens.
I have a genuine question. How does the friction of the pen itself not erase the ink right away? Because, like, surely it should start, maybe I should do that. I am a physicist. I should be able to come up with an explanation. It's probably because of the fact that ballpoint pens have a tiny ball right here and the ball turns. So there's not much friction against the fabric. Anyway.
Before I put the pin tucks into place, I needed to attach the fur to the bottom of the skirt pieces. While I do that, a lot of you wanted to know about the beginnings of Enchanterium. The short version is, it started when I watched some videos about it on YouTube, or about doll customizing, not about Enchanterium. And also wanted to learn how to sew at the same time, and Alex always drew better than me, so I asked her to help me out with the face-ups.
And our first doll was an operetta custom that never saw the light of day. But I think the first test face-up I did on my old Mycin doll. She was my favorite when I was a child, but I can't find her.
Then I stitched the two skirt pieces together and brushed out the seam. I didn't want to do a bunch of hand stitching, which bit me in the butt later, but I just glued the fur to the underside to get the furs nicely finished. Now's the time to fold at the marked lines and stitch very, very closely to the edge. This needs to be like a millimeter from this edge, because if it's a little bit off, there's 20 of these pleats, and if you move your needle half a millimeter, this adds 1 millimeter at each pin tuck, which compounds to 20 millimeters, and that's bad, and that's actually what happened to me. So, be precise.
If you stitch too closely, it will not fit. That's the problem here. So I have to take it lower, trim, I don't know, a little bit, 5 millimeters. Because like easing this is not gonna work. So I have to go in lower to have bigger circumference. See, also like this one's very skinny, this one's very big. It's just how conservative your stitching is gonna determine this. And I am quite liberal. And you can see. I'm adding a waistband out of this ribbon because it matches and I have it. And I'm just gonna stitch it lower here. Another thing that might help is clipping into this. I think I'll cut this one with this.
I'm not too worried about finishing this skirt nicely, cause it will be hidden, so I'm trying to make it as flat as possible. I want the hem of this skirt to be lifted up as much as it can, so I decided to add some wire into the fur trim. This is where it would have been easier if it weren't for the glue, but after struggling to thread it through, I was able to push the wire around the skirt and make the hem posable.
I tried not to sew all the way to the bottom, so we'll see if I did in fact succeed. Oh no, this is stitched through. Okay, this might take a while, but I think it's doable. 5 hours later, and like 2 tries. Come on! And like, I don't know. But it should now be easier to make them do this. And maybe I don't need to stitch it? I don't know what's to stitch it. It's like squishing dumplings that we make for Christmas. It's like a big dumpling. And now it needs a little bit of pressing. It's hard to showcase. Well, actually, it doesn't move at all because of the wire. So it's actually easy to showcase. It's so cute. Thank you for coming to buy that dog.
Okay, let's tackle the bodice with the peplum. I made a similar swirl detail on the cricket, and I'm basically using the same pattern as for the lower skirt, but shorter. With the pleats in place and the bottom unhemmed, important for later, I move on to making the bodice piece, which is just a standard princess seam bodice. It attaches to the skirt with a strip of fabric for a waistband. I added some of the lace from my stash along the princess seams to make a corset front detail, and I lined the bodice with white fabric. I promised myself to sign my work with clothing labels, but sometimes I miscalculate at which step I should do that.
No, I don't want this here though. It was supposed to be here. Come on, Barb. I'll put it in the skirt.
I clean up the seam allowances and turn the bodice to the right side, press the heck out of it and top stitch it, closing the skirt in the back too. While I do that, let's take another cue. Favorite dolls. This year, Pyro and this one. For zodiacs, my favorite is Cancer.
And for me, it's Marceline, Lady Devimon, and Aries.
Now let's tackle the detachable sleeves. Or detached, because they cannot attach, so they're not detached anyway. I wanted them to also have a green layer peeking from under the pink, so I have two shapes and they both get a fur trim. Then, to get a nice top edge, instead of sewing them right sides together, I put them both right sides up so that the seam allowance will hide in between the layers. Then I need to do the side seam, but because they are stacked and not right sides together, I can sew end to end because you would see the seam allowance on the green part. So I sewed the green one only halfway. At this point, I can flip over the fur and snip the seam allowance to be able to sew the remainder of the green sleeve right sides together. I added a bit of elastic to help the sleeves stay in place, and we can flip the pink over the green and the sleeves are done.
By the way, these were my Frankenstein leggings for my skating costume, but I doubt I'll ever wear it again, so.
Figure skaters don't skate with their legs bare, so I whipped up some socks which turned out a bit short, so I crumpled them up near the skates into more of a leg warmer.
And I also want to add trim. This is Aqua, by the way. This is not. I feel like she's Haru's older sister. She also like fits the theme a bit with the color. Anyway, I'll add trims to this. I will not do it permanently first because I need to see if it will look nice if both of these have trims separately. But yeah, cool talking to you. So I do it with this. Don't care. And then before I do anything else, I vacuum it out.
I decided to add more trims here and there, and by this time I had the process nailed down.
And that's good to go.
I made these trims for the legs and arms on a little elastic so they can be removed, and before I hand stitched the blouse trim onto the top edge of the bodice, I finished and glued the laces and added a white leather belt. We are now going back to the unhemmed skirt, our mistakes from the past.
Barb, why are you undoing the work? Shh, don't tell Alex. She might kick me in the face for this. I freight checked it, but it's not looking good. Great.
I'm speaking quiet because I don't want you to hear me. Because I'm doing unauthorized business.
All of this work could have been prevented if I wasn't lazy the first time and just hemmed it before stitching all the pleats. In my defense, I did freight check it, but it ended up fraying anyway. I used a bit of glue on the hem and restitched the pleats.
Ta-da! Is it better? I don't know. Probably.
Do you guys want to see Christmas Miracle?
To add some more pizzazz, I made some little bows to put here and there and decided that in the end a petticoat is needed. So I did some math and promptly winged the petticoat anyway, but it will at least cover her little butt.
She's not finished yet because she's still missing the eyes. Barb requested eyes that follow the viewer, so it's easier to take photos for her later. So I printed these bases and I'm adding some more colors and details. Let's answer this question. What do we dislike in custom dolls? For me, it's glued eyelashes, inset eyes on smaller dolls, and glossed eyes. I sometimes like lashes on dolls of other creators, but I don't see them in our style. And because this process is pretty much self-explanatory, you asked what were our favorite dolls when we were younger. And we had a few Barbies and cheaper alternatives, but my absolute favorite was my scene line. The fashion and style were just perfect for me. Our parents didn't want to buy us Bratz, and we were too old to play Monster High, and I don't remember Winx dolls in Poland at all. So yeah, my scene it is. She's going to have this cute muted pink wig because Barb doesn't believe in my wig making skills, and she's actually right here. I'm making leafy decoration for the ponytails using craft foam and pins. And the last question is, what do we plan for future projects in 2024? Sorry, I'm bad at numbers. 2024. We definitely want to finish the Zodiac series and make some more Digimammies. I would also like to make some more Adventure Time dolls and maybe My Little Pony, the Winx Club, and Powerpuff Girls characters. If you have some requests, let us know in the comments down below. But we're going to have a big break from YouTube in the spring, so I don't think we can make them all. And with this detail, she's finished.
this is how she turned out. The original Smart Doll Haruka is discontinued, and I think it's so sad because she's just too cute. Because she is discontinued, she is very expensive, and I sort of feel bad buying a doll for myself that Alex can't do the face of. And since we had a blank of the same face mold, and this was supposed to be such a personal project for me, I think this rendition of Haruka made by me and my sister is the best I could ask for. Haru is the younger sister of Mirai, and I think in our case she is the younger sister of Aqua, Alex's first Smart Doll face-up, which is also on the Mirai sculpt. It all ties together, you know? I want to take one doll with me when I go to Japan for my internship, and Haru will be that girl. I've already planned out all the outfits I want to make for her before the trip, so you know I'll be busy this holiday season. And if you also want to be busy sewing through the season, you can go to Enchanterium.com and pick up some patterns from our end of year sale with the code BESTGIRL, because Haru is the best girl. This was such a fun project for me. Anyway, make sure to follow us on Instagram for some sneak peeks and subscribe for future videos. Have an enchanted day, happy holidays, and we'll see you next year. Bye! This video was made thanks to our Patreons. The biggest credit goes to our top Lost Sister tier supporters: Adia Bear, Wolfiana Wolfie, Lee, Mary Helen Burns, Call Me Ash, Barb from the Future, Erin McCoy, and Red X. We also thank our cousin tier Patreons: Awkward Sweet Potato, Jessica Shrestha, Awkward Cat, Nisa Low, Kitokato, Burb BTW, Nala Quersholt, Ashley Priest, Ryu, Emerald Havoc, Krista Hopper, Zippy McAdoo, Emma Thomas, Yumi Azura, Galina Harsion, Lucky Ducky Lulu, Sirius Eden, Leon Joslings, Mavi, Gianette, Josephine Falk, Kaylee M, Melissa Novoa, Rinth, Fan of TA, Catherine G, Ashley, Etwell, Hannah Lemon, Elise Sherbet, Zari, Amelia Blackwood, Andrea Brigidier, Ghostly Gardens, Brielle T, The Barbie Witch, Bowen, Inca, Stephanie, Tiffany Jeffords, Karaho, Landy Monk, Jane Beck, I Am Invisible, Caribou, Siv's Party, Dragonart Customs, Ninja Star Dezino, Dream Up, and last but not least, Catherine Nodden. Thanks guys. Happy holidays.